Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we have the Benchmade Super Freak. So, I just got my hands on this knife, I don't know, week and a half ago, and I am ridiculously impressed. Maybe, very possibly, has become my new favorite knife in the collection. This thing the handle is gorgeous. Pocket clip's a little weak. I might change that out, but the blade is nice and large and it just matches everything. The action on it after the first day, I fidgeted with it, gave it a little bit of TLC, and it broke in fine. The action on it, the fidget factor, oh my goodness. Just typical Benchmade fidget factor when it breaks in, so good. And overall, just a stupid awesome knife. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start first and foremost with the blade steel. This is M4, so this is not going to be corrosion resistant, but is going to be a tank when it comes to holding its edge. It's going to be up there in the top 30% of blade steels to probably top 10% of blade steels for edge retention. It falls just short of the very top tier, but it is so good. They coated the blade because it is M4 probably, and it will rust and corrode, so you need to make sure you take care of your blade when you're using this. Use some EDCI or whatever you have to do to cover that blade to make sure that you're not allowing it to rust. So getting into the pivot, feels like there's a little bit of play for a T8, but is that a fucking T8? That's weird. Body screws look like they're a T6, but let's double check to make sure that this pivot's actually a T8 before I start talking anything. Let's check here. It feels bigger than a T8, but it doesn't feel... It's a fucking T10. That pivot is a T10, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting. Very good. Ergonomics on this guy, great. I've been holding this all week, and I picked up my Manix 2 because I felt bad. I'm like, dude, I haven't been playing with you at all. So I picked up my Manix 2, and all of a sudden, the Manix 2 feels too thin. The way this contours, and it's hard to tell, but the way that the scales contour out it adds just enough meat in your hammies to really feel like you're holding something substantial. It's got a decent little sharpening choil here. It's got some jimping riding up on the thumb ramp, which is nice. It's got a little bit of jimping down here, probably some useless jimping. I mean, you don't really feel it. As far as, it's a Benchmade with your access lock. It does have an ambidextrous pocket clip. You can use it on both sides, making this knife probably one of the first knives that I own that's actually truly ambidextrous, which is pretty cool. It's got this little, I'm guessing it's a D-shaped pivot, with the way that this stops here and goes in there. It is running on phosphor bronze washers. I don't know if you can see those there. Moving on, we do have a couple more body screws. The reason for the couple more body screws is that the stainless steel liners only come down to about here. Let's see. Yeah, they're coming down. Oh, no, they come down to here where the screw comes in. It screws in on the tip of the stainless steel liner. The rest of it is this layered G10. We have this nice red G10 in the inside, which is kind of like, that's why it creates that layered effect. We have these red back spacers. And it just, it's gorgeous, in my opinion. And, I mean, it's actually pretty lightweight for how large of a knife this is. Once again, take a look at that handle. I've never been impressed with G10. I am fucking impressed with G10. This thing is fantastic. The pocket clip, nobody really loves on the standard pocket clip. It's not a deep carry, and it has that phallic shape, if you know what I'm talking about. Not a huge deal. It's kind of like they emphasize the lanyard hole here over anything, which kind of sucks, but that's what the deep carry clip will rise up here and block off that lanyard hole for you if you ended up going with a deep carry pocket clip, which I probably could go back to Benchmade and request one. I think they send them out for free. Let's get into some specs. Blade stock thickness, start off with that. Coming in at a 120 thousandths. Behind the edge thickness, coming in at about 20 thousandths. Yeah, it's about 20 thousandths. The width up here, you're looking at an even 1/2 inch. And then the overall height of this at its tallest point, which would be right above the thumb ramp, you're almost coming in at 1.5 inches, which is relatively tall. Let's get into some size comparisons. And just for the sake of doing the comparison, the PM2 is coming in at 1.6 inches tall. So this thing, I'm not going into the size comparisons yet, I jacked up, but I wanted to compare those two. PM2 does sit pretty tall. This doesn't sit quite as tall as the PM2. Now let's get into the weight. Oops, let's let you fire up there first there, big guy. All right. The weight is coming in at a 4.3 ounces. We already went over the pivot and the screw size. Hey, get back here, you little piece of shit. So from tip to butt, you're looking at almost 8.5 inches. Yeah, you're looking at almost 8.5 inches, just shy of 8.5 inches. Blade length on this guy is coming in at just over 3.5 inches. The overall cutting edge is just at 3.5. So as people complain, I'm going to get this out of the way real quick. Yes, this is in the cutting path. Have I experienced that? No. Have I used this for heavy cutting tasks yet? No. So I'll let you guys know in a long-term update if these thumb studs are getting in the way of the cutting path. And actually, since we're sitting here and the lighting kind of sucks and it's a black on black blade, I'm going to turn on the other light. Show this a little bit better because it's black in a dark background. All right. So get into some size comparisons here. We have our PM2 and our Ferrum Forge Falcon. As you can see, dwarfing the Falcon, and it's got the PM2 by about 1/2 inch overall. If we were to do that, you got this length right here. Not 1/2 inch, that's probably about 1/4 inch overall for overall length on the PM2. Let's use our Ontario Wrap Model 1 and our CJRB Rhea. As you can see, it is exactly the same size as the Ontario Rat 1. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm going to talk about this in the end because this just kind of hit me and I'm going to save this. Let's go into our feldspar comparison. So we have the regular size feldspar and we have the mini feldspar. Obviously dwarfing both of those knives. It's got the regular size feldspar by about 1/2 inch. The mini feldspar, it's got it quite a bit. I would say almost 1 1/4 inches. And then last but not least, we have King Savivi and the Dogma right here. And the ProTech Newport, firing hard as ever. So if you look here, it's got the Dogma as another comparison for you guys that own Dogmas by almost 3/4 inch in length, tip to butt of the knife. Obviously the ProTech, it's dwarfing that in size. So before I kind of give my final thoughts in this video, I just noticed something. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this yet. So we noticed that the Rat Model 1 and the Super Freek here, probably the Freek I would assume is the same dimensions. Look how similar these are in some fashions. We have the thumb ramp with jimping right here. This one's a little bit more aggressive. The thumb stud on this one's a little bit further back and not in the cutting path, but with the Rat Model 1, you have to really dig in to get it, whereas the Super Freek, it's right there. So that's kind of where they say one-upped it and did better. But let's look at the contouring. We have this little overhead, and then with the finger, I don't want to call that a finger choil, but you see that right there. And then you have this, and it does the same exact thing. And yes, I know that's a common knife, style, but holding this in my hand feels very similar to holding this. And it's not the exact same. Obviously, your finger goes in a little bit further deep here, but just looking at the blade shape and the knife, I can't but help think that some inspiration for the Super Freek came from this Ontario rat. And I probably am not the first person to say that, but I mean, guys, is it deniable? I mean, look at these two. If you were to round this off and then just add a little bit of a cutout here and take this in slightly deeper, they are virtually the same. This is just an interesting observation, and it's a great thing. I compare everything to the Rat one. I hail the Rat one praises and everything else because it deserves it. I mean, it's a fantastic freaking knife. So yes, is my Rat one comparable to my Super Freek in my opinion? Yes. Is there a $140 freaking difference in the two? Yeah, a little bit more than that. Am I okay with that? For sure. I'm getting M4 steel over AUS 8. I know I don't have the D2 Rat. M4 steel over AUS 8. You got the access lock. These really nice G10 handles. And just for the shits and gigs of it, I don't remember what the Rat one weighed. The Rat one weighs over 3/4 of an ounce more, which is fine. Once again, all these handles are G10. The reason I'm doing that is I just wanted to compare the two. So, sorry, got off on my own tangent that interested me. Overall thoughts on the Super Freek. This is coming in at about $190. You're getting M4 steel with a G10 handle. The stainless steel liner locks only come to here, so that adds a little bit of extra cut in the weight, but you have these G10 handles that are nice and thick. So when you really choke up on this guy, well, you really can't choke up, but when you really grip into this guy, oh man. I mean, the ergonomics are great, short of the Manix 2 maybe being a little bit better, but the Manix 2 I'm starting to fall a little out of love with because and once you feel the thicker handle, you almost get addicted to the thicker handle versus the skinny handle. And this isn't thick by any means, but it's got this contouring up, whereas the Manix is flat here. It doesn't have a ridge where it comes up like that. So a lot of hardware to take out if you were to take this whole knife apart, but realistically with access knives and Benchmades, you're really not wanting to take them apart. You might try to take out the blade and that's it, which I think you can do fairly easily just by taking out the pivot and sliding out the blade, but leaving in the access lock. So that might make your life quite a bit easier when it comes to just cleaning that pivot and the bearings there. Again, overall thoughts. I mean, this thing's contoured. Interestingly enough, this isn't sharp, but it's not sharp because of that coating that they put on there. If this coating wasn't there, they didn't do anything to knock that down, and that's fine. You know, this is in the cutting path, but not a big deal. You know, it's only, as Metal Complex would say, not flicking them off, but you're losing that much. But how many people cut straight and right there? You're probably going to cut like this, you know, so you're probably not going to notice it. Action, once you break it in, Jesus, just fantastic. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. You definitely feel like you can do damn near anything when you have this in your hands. So I can't sing the praises of this Super Freek enough, and I am so happy that I decided to buy it. I wasn't going to, and I'm like, just do it, fuck it. And it turned out to be a great decision. So yeah, that is the Benchmade Super Freek, guys. Highly recommendable knife if you got the $190 to spend on it. Otherwise, you know, they do have the Benchmade Freek that I have not felt in hand, but it is a similar knife with a lesser steel and a lesser, you know, involved handle. I believe the handle is, don't quote me on it, I don't remember. But, yeah. So the Benchmade Super Freek, M4 steel, edge to last forever. You feel like you can do a shit ton of work. It's tough enough. It is not corrosion resistant, but they do put a DLC coating on the blade, which is fantastic. You got the black hardware, the black pocket clip that kind of looks phallic, so you might want to change that out. Red liners that make it look gorgeous, red backspacers, and it just contoured handle with this. You got some milling lines here that add for a little bit more grip, and a lanyard hole in the back, which I kind of wish, you know, I'm glad it's there, but who's going to put a 4.5 ounce knife on a lanyard? I mean, I don't know. Anyways, this is the Benchmade Super Freek. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. If you have the $190 and you love the way this looks, you will not be disappointed when you get it in your hand. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay sharp, stay safe. Love you guys all. Take care.